Hello, and welcome back to Abiding in the Secret Place. This is Dr. Natalie Lenore Blackman, and I am coming to you on this beautiful afternoon. A little unprepared. I've been swimming and trying to do my best to be obedient when I can. But I wanted to come in today in response to that and that obedience and talk a little bit more about self. We talked about this is spring, and the eyes are the window to the liver, and the eyes are the window to the soul, and soul could be equivalent to self, okay? And I would equate self. Now we've got the three-part being, the spirit, the soul, and the body. I guess we could do it the other way. The spirit, the soul, and the body is how you should really do it. And I would define self as anything that opposes the will of the Father. That would fall under like rebellion, of course, right? But anything that I want to do my will, my way, right? Rather than God's will and God's way. And I was reminded of this today when I was taking my daughter for a bike ride. This is one of the most beautiful days we've had this spring. And self would want to take myself on a bike ride. That's self, okay? But my daughter is my seed, and we've talked about seed time and harvest. And so I want to sow into my daughter, right? And so if I want her to be a good mountain biker, then I'm going to have to take time away from my biking schedule or from when I want to go and ride my favorite trails and ride with her so that she can learn and improve her skills and that she can become a better rider for the future, okay? So I'm denying what I want to do, self, for what God wanted me to do, which would be to invest in my daughter or invest in my seed. And this is a very small example, but it ties into what we've been talking about all of this time with seed, time, and harvest. And I'm going to show you some pictures maybe in the next session or the one after that where my seedlings that I planted became so leggy. I'm going to save some of them, but I'm not going to be able to save many, okay? And there are a lot of external factors that affected them. But in my research regarding those seeds and what went wrong and what I did wrong, I was watching a video on germinating seeds, and that's something I used to do because I ate a lot of sprouts. And when you germinate seeds, you put them in moist cloth, okay? And the shell breaks open and the seed begins to germinate, but that's also considered a seed death. Like the seed itself dies and produces, so the shell dies, right? And it produces the beginning of a plant, and that plant is going to produce a harvest or fruit or vegetables, and that fruit or vegetable is going to produce seeds. So more seeds, right? And so today when I was riding with my daughter, I was reminded of a scripture that I've heard many times, and I've heard it so many ways, but it didn't hit me the way it did until today regarding exactly what we're talking about, regarding self and the soul. We want to lay down self, or what's called die to self, so that the spirit can be stronger than the soul, and the spirit controls or rules the body, or the flesh, as some people call it, the natural being. And so today when I was writing, I just was reminded of the scripture that I've heard a million times but never thought of it this way. And it's John chapter 12:24. This is the NIV version. Very truly I tell you, unless a kernel of wheat or a seed of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it remains only a single seed. But if it dies, it produces many seeds. Self, if it dies, if we lay down our will, lay down our desires, lay down our plans for the Father's, which is the spirit plans, right? Spiritual plans, supernatural, then we're going to produce many seeds. And you can only produce many seeds if you produce a big harvest. Seeds come from fruit, right? So I was overwhelmed by that. I knew the Father wanted me to share that today because I'm working on figuring out how I can do a better job with my seedlings, okay? I used to plant seedlings, but it's been many years, and these weren't vegetables. These were just flowers. But it still disappointed me, okay? And I'm going to get those out, and we'll look at them, and I'll talk about some things that we can do to save them. But one of the things I'm going to do with my next round that I said I was going to plant in 4 to 6 weeks, the nether round, I'm going to actually put those in between the moist cloth and let the seeds germinate first. Then I'm going to put the germinated seed into the soil. The germinated seed is the seed that died, okay? So self, which is ego, which is the soul, it needs to die so that God can come through and produce the harvest that He wants to produce, the supernatural harvest. Now, this dying to self, it's a daily practice. I mean, I used to say every morning that I wanted to die to self and I wanted to decrease so that God could increase, okay? Me, myself, and I want to decrease the vessel. I want to decrease so that what comes through me, which is the Father, can be increased, okay? So there's a favorite verse that I love, and it's Proverbs 14:12, and it says, and this is an NIV, there is a way that appears to be right, but in the end it leads to death. So self can mislead us. Self may think that this is the right direction or this is what I should do, okay? But the secret place, it brings us in with the Father. And in the secret place, self has died. We lay it down. We allow the spirit man to absorb what it is that the Father wants us to do. And that comes through and manifests a harvest. And that harvest can only be fruitful because it's not the natural way. The natural way may seem right, but in the end, it usually leads to death. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this session.